Hi, guys. Denise here from TOWTalk, the Town of Wallkill podcast. The other day, Neil and I had our weekly long session, which we covered a few different topics. One of those topics was a very controversial letter written by Maine Senator Joseph Martin inviting Canada to join the United States. Let me start by saying that Neil and I do not approve of the content or the tone of the senator's letter, which is why we chose to focus on it in that episode. All I can say is that the segment has generated quite a bit of attention, especially from our neighbors to the north. So much so that we decided that it might be better just to sort of parse this section out and create its own episode. So what follows is that episode. Before you go, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and click on that little bell so you get notified of new episodes when they drop. Here we go. Anyway, I wanted to start off on something that isn't actually small town related, but definitely of interest. And I just thought it was wild. And this has been going viral, maybe more so in Canada than here. But here's the story. In the state of Maine, there is a Senator Joseph E. Martin. For the
local state senator.
Right. He's from the state legislature of Maine. He decided to send a letter of invitation to Western Canada to join the United States. He just kind of did this at the beginning of the month. It's an undated letter. It's lots of pages. Sorry, it's not coming up on the camera, but it's like 4 pages long, very wordy. And the arrogance in this letter is unconscionable. So I'm just going to read like maybe the first couple of paragraphs so you can kind of get the gist of where we're going. The MLA Brennan Day of Canada from Courtenay Comox, opposition critic for rural and seniors health and proudly Canadian, wrote a scathing response, but in the most polite manner that you could expect from any Canadian. It was actually beautifully done. But just listen to this, and this is what a state senator thought it was a good idea to send to Canada. So let me get my mic over here. Hopefully you can hear me. Okay. So the title is A Vision for Welcoming Western Canada into the United States. The strength of the United States lies in its fidelity to the Constitution. Its emphasis on national sovereignty and its roots in Western civilization, Christianity, and personal responsibility. I'm guessing the rest of the religions just don't matter here. These principles are not negotiable, and they must form the foundation of any expansion of the Union. If the Canadian provinces of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba were to seek admission into the United States, it must be as full American states. Were they even looking? Not provinces with conditions or dual allegiance. They would come into the fold by the consent of their people and the invitation of a constitutional guided republic. There would be no hybrid governance, no special carve-outs, and certainly no Canadian political baggage. Who wants that? Sorry, Canada. The path forward would not be about convenience or economic expansion alone, but about the reaffirmation of liberty, state sovereignty, and national identity. A union of this kind would not dilute the American experiment. It would only strengthen it, fortify it, and renew it with citizens who have consciously chosen Americanism over Canadian federalism. This would not be annexation, it would be adoption, welcoming home kindred spirits who were born under a different flag, who desire to live under our Constitution and accept our responsibilities, customs, and traditions. What the fuck? This is how you, in friendly invitation to join our country. Give up your whole country, give up all your ideals. You either believe what we believe, and you just better come anyway.
No, not what we believe. What he believes.
Correct. I'm sorry.
Right? I stand corrected. You have to remember, America, the whole point of being an American is that America can mean something different to every individual.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's the point of freedom. Okay? And there's a reason why I have the picture behind me, right? Is because we are living in a dumpster fire. Right? And for anybody who says, no, that's a Tesla, no, it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I'm
Please
just
continue.
Please continue. My God, this goes on. Let's see. I can try to paraphrase, but there's just so much in here. Is the next section. The Constitution, terms of union, not suggestions. Any admission of new states must be governed strictly by the U.S. Constitution. Article 4, Section 3 grants Congress the authority to admit new states into the Union. Precedents such as the admission of Texas, Hawaii, and even parts of Mexico under the 1845 to 1848 expansionary period show that voluntary union is both legal and historically grounded. Blah, blah, blah. This must occur under such rules and apply to all states. There can be no special terms or exemptions.
I have a question then. I have a
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
If we're saying statehood and we're having this conversation, what about Puerto Rico? They voted twice for statehood, and they have not been granted it yet.
Yeah.
And you're talking about bringing people in and giving them statehood right there.
Right there. Believe me, I would love to have Puerto Rico as a state, but apparently they always vote down, and we all know why. We all know why. It has,
No, they've never actually voted. They refused to take the vote.
But Puerto Rico has said expressed.
Puerto Rico has voted, and they've said that they want statehood. Yes.
Yeah. So here we are. I guess they want. I think they're looking for all of North America because while this is going on here, they've also, I guess it was in Rolling Stone magazine, reported that apparently there are plans for us to go into Mexico and go after cartels under the guise of going for cartels. So yeah, they're looking to take over all of North America.
Well, you say that, but the administration struck a deal with a number of cartels to allow them asylum in the United States.
Right.
So, you got to ask the question, like, really, what are they talking about?
Competition? I'm sure they're right. Just a thought. So let's see. Let's go through this. I don't want to go through this. Letter is really long. Could take me a half an hour to read it all. Sovereignty, American. Here's another one. Sovereignty and identity. American, not North American. Statehood under the U.S. Constitution means more than a change in passport. It demands an embrace of American identity. Historically grounded, civic-minded, and fundamentally national. True conservatives reject the globalist mindset that sees borders as inconveniences or cultures as interchangeable. Americanism is a real, tangible tradition rooted in Anglo-American law, Greco-Roman philosophy, and Christian moral order. It values family, localism, moral restraint, and individual accountability. What the fuck is happening here?
I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah, it's a lot of big giant word salad. That sounds to me, in summary, that says
here's what I'm gonna say. There are a lot of immigrants in this country who came to this country looking for freedom, looking for the American dream, right? Who are now getting locked in concentration camps and getting locked in cages, right? And not allowed to achieve their American dream. And, for all those people that are like, well, I don't want my tax dollars. Well, a lot of these immigrants have been in the country for a long time. They've accumulated a lot of debt. And guess what? Now your tax dollars are paying to forgive their debt.
Right. Yep.
So, and you're paying all this money. You're paying now hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, right? Per person.
Yep.
To have them locked in cages, right? And there are people out there that think, oh, well, that's better than providing them health care, right? Which is actually now cheaper. Right, cheaper. Which is now actually much cheaper for that, if you were to actually just insure them rather than locking them up. I mean, this has gone beyond. This is no longer about good policy. It's not about saving money. It's not about any of that stuff because these guys are just spending money hand over fist.
Oh,
they're all about themselves, and this is all about. I've said it all the time. People can see me say it all the time, right? They're not coming into our communities, right? With masks, right, and plain clothes. They're coming in white cloaks, burning crosses.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you don't need to go back far in our history to visualize that.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And that's what's so sad to see what's happening here. And so, of course, they want Canada.
Listen, Canada has, just like America, there are a lot of people who immigrated to Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
They have a very diverse culture, a very diverse population. They're very nice. If they do like music from 10 years ago, I mean, more power to them. I still listen to my 90s music, so all good.
So do I. They're very progressive. I love Canada.
Canada's great,
But this is just, I just felt that this was rather nervy in the sense that, go ahead.
Do you want to know what one of my favorite Canada stories is? Right. And I read it in a book. It was from a long time ago. So back around the same time, the United States banned cannabis, right? Canada also, on the request of the United States, banned cannabis, right? And they banned the growing of cannabis. And cannabis used to actually grow in the wild in Canada.
Oh, really?
Right? It used to just grow in the wild. So what they did is the Canadian government burned down the fields, right? Like they literally just decimated all the cannabis in Canada. So they go to this nice old lady's house, okay? They go to this nice old lady's house and they told her, cannabis is now illegal. You need to burn down your fields. All right. And she said, no. She just flat out said no. She said that I enjoy hanging out in my yard and listening to the birds sing, and my plants make the birds sing. And you will not ever deny me of that. And that's what she said. And you know what? That's Canadian for you. That's Canada for you.
Good for her.
Right. It's just, these are the type of people that they are. They're good people.
Yeah.
Just like, just like a lot of Americans. They're good people. Just like a lot of the immigrants that come to this country. They're good people. They're just trying to make a living.
And you know what? They pay a lot into taxes too.
Yes.
I had done some research, and of course I've had arguments with this all over social media, but the entire immigrant population in 2023, I believe the total amount of tax revenue and tax and Social Security revenue was in the neighborhood of $650 billion from all immigrants, legal, otherwise, permanent residents, whatever. Of that, about $100 billion of that, 95 billion, whatever, represented what came from undocumented immigrants, from taxes, Social Security, and into the Medicare, Medicaid system. So that's all revenue loss because, not just, people are leaving if we lose our immigrants.
But it's not, listen, you don't even need to go to those statistics are like way up in the air. All you need to do is look at what just happened in Nebraska. Nebraska's bankrupt. Okay.
Oh, really?
It was reported in the paper, and it was been reported that the Nebraska governor, right, sent a letter to the administration saying his state is bankrupt. Okay. That they have a $300 million deficit and that they're going to run out of money in 2 to 3 months and not have any more money to pay anybody, right? All the immigrants left the state, right? So they have nobody working their farms. And the Chinese had $3 billion in contracts, right, with Nebraska farmers to produce soybeans. All the soybeans are in the ground growing. Right. So all the farmers have spent all their money and put it in the ground. And now you have the state, which now collects $300 million, not only from the taxes of the immigrants, but from the contract itself with China, which as a result of the tariffs were canceled. So now Nebraska has this huge budgetary hole. And what's going to happen now? Who's going to bail them out? Because it's going to be New Yorkers, it's going to be Californians, it's going to be Illinoisans, right? It's going to be the states that actually have money coming in that are going to have to go in and bail Nebraska out. And you know why? Because we are the United States of America. When one of us falls, another one picks you up. And that is what we all believe in the North. And that isn't weakness, okay? That is strength in our community.
Exactly. And I think that's what's being lost. That's something that's being lost right now.
Well, it's interesting because what you have is when you have states like New York and California, right, even North Carolina, that's asked for money as a result of disasters that happened to them, right? All these other states are saying no. we're not going to help you, right? I mean, they've turned around. Their representatives in Congress have all said no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But our representatives have to say yes when they need our money.
Yeah. Yeah. Or else we get shamed for it. Those selfish New Yorkers.
Right. And then I have to get lectured about social welfare. That's the biggest social welfare in our country.
It's so hypocritical.
Right.
You just get lost. But let's see. If I go on, this is good. It's literally like a dark hole of wordiness that makes no sense.
I think I want to get back to something you said, because I really think, there's a lot of tie-in locally to it, is when he talked about, I hear a lot about the separation of religion, right? Church and state.
Yep.
And he mentions, coming to the country and being Christian. Okay. As a Jew, I have to sit here and go, well, I'm American.
Exactly.
I have a First Amendment right, but I'm being told by political officials that my First Amendment right, while they're claiming everybody else is being anti-Semitic, they're telling me I have to be a Christian.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's absolutely insane. But I think, as much as people are going to probably say I'm being hyperbolic for even saying that, because nobody's saying that, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's put that aside for a second. Okay. The IRS recently changed rules related to religions, saying that religions are allowed to be politically active, okay, and keep their tax exempt status.
Wow.
Okay. So what does that mean? All right. And here's what I'm going to tell you. It means absolutely nothing.
Really? Yeah.
It means absolutely nothing, because it's very rare. And I don't even know what the statistics are, but it's very rare that a religious organization would ever lose their tax exempt status for either endorsing a political figure or being involved in politics. Okay. Listen, I ran for political office in the town of Waco. I'm going to tell you, there were plenty of religious organizations that came out and endorsed my opponent and were like absolutely 100% involved in local politics. Okay. And we see it all over the place. So this is nothing new. This isn't really a new thing. This is just more red meat out there for the right. This is my feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I am a member of an organization known as the Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. So it's an organization. It's actually run by attorneys who fight cases where they're trying to, let's say, push a religion into public schools, and so that kind of thing. One thing I was watching, one of the attorneys does a lot of videos. I haven't seen them in a while, probably because of the algorithm is blocking them from me, but he had posted a video where a preacher in one of these mega churches was saying, if you're a Democrat, get out of my church. I don't want you in here. It was like really nasty. So these churches are becoming places of recruitment, and they're places to get votes. And so, that's where I think we want church to be about God and spirituality and family, and it shouldn't be a place of starting culture wars based on political ideology. I just don't think that that's the place for.
I partly agree and I partly disagree.
Okay.
And the show wouldn't be good if we agreed on everything.
I can't argue with you there.
I mean, the fact is religion has been involved in politics since the dawn of time. The Pope is a hugely political figure.
Oh yes. Yes.
Right? I mean, think about it. He isn't just the head of a religion. He's the head of a state.
Yes.
Okay? The Vatican is its own country. Okay? It's its own state. So, like, not for nothing, I mean, religion has always played a role in politics. And I really don't have a problem with that, except to say that religious organizations should do a better job, Well, like, I mean, they should really if they're going to be involved in politics, they should get to know the candidates. They should understand what they stand for. They should share the same values. And what we found is a corruption of politics and religion, right? All at the same time coming together,
Yes.
right? The fact that religious organization, that you have a political figure, basically claiming to be the head of a religious organization or a cult, as it were,
Yes.
right? Just like that letter kind of stated, that, to me, we shouldn't be worshiping, this country was entirely founded on the idea that we didn't want a king.
Right, right.
And
we wanted freedom to worship as we please, because even then, back then, there were multiple different versions of Christianity. And if you didn't follow what the king wanted, then you were a heretic, so there's always this, it's a fine line.
Listen, there's always a fine line. I mean, all you have to do is study your history and you realize that the Anglican Church was founded by King Henry VIII, right? I mean, and he did it so he could get divorced. I mean,
yes,
like an entire religion was set up by the head of state. Listen, I'm not saying that to make fun of the religion or anything like that, but politics and religion have always gone hand in hand. My issue is when religion gets in the way of good governance, when it gets in the way of good education, when it gets in the way of good science, I mean, then I have a problem. I mean,
that's
I was
kind of where we are now. That's right. Kind of where we're going.
I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day.
I love him.
And I think I mentioned this. I know he's great. With the exception of the Pluto thing, he's great. Anybody who knows me will get that reference, right? Like, because I'm like constantly on the Pluto thing. But I was listening to him, and before 1900, the average lifespan was like 30s. You think about it. You go back to the 1800s. I mean, people weren't living past the age of like 35, or 38. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm 51. If I lived in the 1800s, I would have been dead already. I mean,
I'd be long dead.
And he was so funny because he says, the advent of 1900, what happened? Science. There were all these scientific, breakthroughs, vaccines, polio vaccine, the way we grow food, the dwarf wheat, right? I mean, all these things occurred
ways to
in the
filter
1900s,
water.
Right? I mean, you think about what they ate pre-1900. Everything was organic. Right? Like everything was organic, right? They didn't have the processed food we have today. Everything was organic. And they all died in their 30s, right?
There also there was no antibiotics, there was no vitamins. And so, they may have eaten organic, but they may have been, that they could have been potatoes. They could have been eating potatoes and celery. That was their diet or whatever.
But the point is right, like science has made all these advances for us to live longer, but those things come with a price tag, okay? Right. And as a society, right, we have all agreed as a country, and the Constitution, right? Like we have all agreed as a society to pay that cost together. That isn't socialism, that isn't communism, that isn't fascism. That's the contract. That's the social contract that we all make to each other, that we're all going to be beholden to each other and take care of each other as a community. And the question then becomes, are we following it today?
I'm feeling too confident with what's going on. And that's concerning. So, but anyway, in result, what I'll do is I will put a link in the comments to the Facebook page from Brennan Day, so you can read his very eloquent response. It's long also. You could read there'll be images of the letter from Senator Martin and the response. It's wild. But I thought that I would just bring that up. I thought it was interesting. It was definitely an interesting topic to discuss.
Listen, I think it has absolute ramifications locally, in terms of thought process, governance. Yes. Our schools, our local government, how we operate as a society as a whole. I think there are so many implications locally to that letter, right?
Yes.
Like to what he said in that letter, because that isn't isolated. That's not just his belief. There are a lot of people who believe that, and there are a lot of people in power who believe that.
So there you have it. One more note about Puerto Rico, since that was brought up in the conversation. They voted for statehood in 2012, 2017, and 2020 in favor of statehood. And there was a bill passed by the House in 2022. It went to the Senate, but they didn't pick it up. Mainly because I think we were just too closely split. It was like 51 Democrats to 49 Republicans, and you need a 60 votes to pass the filibuster, get past the filibuster, and they didn't have it. So another bill was entered in late December of 2023, January of 2024, which is supposed to come up for a vote on or about November 2nd of this year. So there's still a chance. All right. So thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It goes a long way to helping us keep this content coming. Once again, thanks so much for your support. Take care.